everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Oh my God, we got feet and feet and feet of snow. It is so awesome. This is what I like is the snow. Totally different than California. So I always like something that's a nice change. So yeah, so interesting. I wanted to first off just kind of say if anybody has been a victim of my hormones at all in any way, shape, or form, totally want to apologize. Okay, so if I have jumped to conclusions on anybody, if I've ever, I don't know, offended anybody in any way whatsoever, I just want to put it out there. I apologize. Okay, because I did say that people's biochemistry. Sometimes they know what they're doing, sometimes they don't, and they're finding ways to justify, and that's okay, and that's okay. It's when it's down the road when you look back on how you behaved, you look back on your thought process, you look back on a lot of things, and you're like, okay, did I really need to behave that way? And maybe I did for whatever reason because I was hurt at the time, and it wasn't like the person intentionally did it. I just was going through and check marking my boxes, and not everybody fit the check mark box, and so I did something that I felt I needed to do, but doesn't mean that it was the right thing to do, right? And so it's always good, and I try to. Sometimes my pride does get in the way, and I will try to clean up messes that I've made. Sometimes it's not worth it to me because I really don't want to play that where I apologize to them, because I don't really feel like I need to unless you know unless they also decide that want to meet me halfway. I mean, yeah, I've dealt with a lot of people, a lot of different people. Some had good intentions, some had weird, nefarious intentions, and it's hard for me to know exactly. So I only go by how I see what people do, how they behave, and then I, react from that. But there are people that are close to me that I know I probably reacted a bit more harshly than I should have. So I just want to apologize out there. Hey, Edith. So anyways, but this then leads me to the next thing about drama and upset of homeostasis. And it induces creativity. Now, I may have sacrificed certain people, not in a nefarious bad way, but maybe use people as an example, right? To get a point across. And sometimes it's good, and then sometimes it's not always appropriate, but it is what at the time it is what I was doing at the time. And it got my point across faster, right? But this is something to think about, okay? So upset of homeostasis, which is always good because it keeps you out of this looping. And how I want to put an example, I'm looking at the Facebook algorithms, I'm looking at YouTube algorithms, and it records everything that you're interested in, all right? So if it's like all conspiracy stuff, or all about Chris Watts, or all about I don't know, these are all the murder cases I'm like looking at. Or what else would I be looking at? God, that's really been my main focus, is studying psychopaths, right? So Facebook and YouTube, and even your mind, because the algorithms on Facebook and YouTube is no different than the looping mind full of hormones, because everything in the entertainment industry is hormonal. YouTube is hormonal, so is Facebook, so is the news. And so I noticed that when I have everything on autoplay and I'm listening to, like, let's say one video, and I'll fall asleep to it, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing the same interview on Chris Watts over and over again, but I have a different video that I'm watching, but somehow it loops me back to the same interview that I watched a million times. So I'm like, what the heck? And then that reminds me, it's about hormones, because hormones have you loop back in the same stuff over and over and over again, and you can't get out of it. So until you upset the homeostasis and completely change your thought process, which means you have to have completely different searches on your YouTube, different people, like on your Facebook algorithms, you see all the same people that you interact with always coming through. Well, if you do different searches on different people, you break up and upset that homeostasis, and you get into a different thought process. Well, that's the same thing with Jjuice. it is a break in your homeostasis, but it's in a good way, not a bad way, because there's bad ways to break up your homeostasis too, like poisoning your body, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, entertaining new people that you hadn't really vetted out, and so they're coming in, because let's say you just decide to like let everybody in. Okay, I'm not going to be discriminatory anymore. Everybody can come on my Facebook, right? And I have like 1,000 friend requests. I have 1,000 friend requests, you guys, and I have maybe 4,500 people. If I really wanted to, I could have 5,000, have the limit of people. But no, guess what? My Facebook would be insane. I would have trolls just talking smack all over the place. So no, I'm not going to just, break up my homeostasis that way. That's not a good way to break up your homeostasis. So, and this reminds me of when I created, or when I did the substantiation for the OAG, I didn't have all of that science listed out like I did in my book prior to Dr. Phil. So when I was on Dr. Phil, my book wasn't written. My book was still in flux, trying to take all of these revelations that were like just pieces, and they weren't really put together in a cohesive type of material with, a claim and then a substantiation. No, it's just like all of my theories that were all over the place. And you saw that on Dr. Phil. So if you want to see what my thought process was during Dr. Phil, go watch that. Go watch the clips, because my intuition knew that you can regrow limbs. My intuition knew that you can regrow cells, organs, and all of that. But did I have all of the science in a very organized fashion developed? No. But guess what had me develop that? The fact that my government came on me and said, hey, you're creating a freaking chaos in our community. We're getting phone calls left and right from everybody and their mother. We need you now to substantiate. And oh my God, I was scared. And it was an upset of homeostasis. I was scared. I was nervous. I was under adrenaline, fight or flight. Do I back down and say, okay, acquiesce, all of you trolls are correct? Or am I going to fight and go find the information? Because I knew it existed. I just had to go find it and have it substantiated in a different context, because all my information has been substantiated, but in a different context. So all I had to do is go and find it. And that's using Facebook algorithms. The dangers of, what is cell regeneration? What is cell degradation? I mean, these were the things that I was doing, and I got help from my community. All of you guys stepped up when you needed to and started feeding me different pieces. And it was just different pieces that you all knew, right? And then I just put it all together in a cohesive document with a bibliography. So all of that drama and upset of homeostasis induced a major creative process, and it got me to the next level. So, and that's what they do in psychology as well. Psychology, they go and they create an upset of homeostasis. They may trigger an abuser to do something to then get him in jail faster. They may do other things, so to get the person to react, and then they're obviously, their reactions will be very predictable. And then guess what? They're going to be taken and hauled off into jail, or charges pressed against them or something. Or you put out, I don't know, bait to upset homeostasis, to get a person to react or act, or however, whatever behavior you want them to do. So there's something to be said for all of my hormonal drama the last, 6-7 months, because it kept getting me to the next level. It kept peeling back the layers of my own programming. It had me pay attention to people around me, to things that, I would ignore, right? But no, when I react on something, it means that there's something that I'm not really facing, that I've been pushing, to the side, but it's affecting me. And now I can't let that affect me anymore. Now, are there ways to go about and approaching and exploring some of these things that trigger you, that are a bit more friendly to the other person, that when I do explore this, do I have to sacrifice somebody and make them feel bad and oh my God? Probably yes. I'm sure there are always improvements on how we go about exploring our biochemistry when it involves other people. Okay? And that is the development process of your new personality. The Jjuice really does upset your homeostasis. It really does have you take a look at how you have behaved and then how you affected other people. And and for me, it's easy to justify because I have an amazing protocol, and either you want it or you don't. And so in a lot of ways, I say, well, excuse my behavior, so I don't have to really behave. But no, that's not a good way to look at it. And I'm not trying to wield my power. No, but I also have to make sure that I don't attract somebody that could potentially undermine me. But then, we don't want to live in that fear as well, but we need to have discernment. So it is a work in progress. And all of us need to start, exercising that discernment bone. And it's not always going to come out correctly. Sometimes, when you are dealing with a lot of different people, you're dealing with work, you're dealing with spouses, you're dealing with family that are always continuously in your face. And then you're also trying to heal at the same time, and you're going through major biochemical fluctuations. Oh, it's not always going to be pretty. It's going to downright suck because sometimes you don't have control. And now hopefully you have enough control where you won't be so extreme. But I don't think any of you on my Facebook are to the point of where you're like Chris Watts and Jodi Arias, where when you do the protocol, it's going to elicit some crazy, negative, extreme reaction that'll land you in jail. I don't see that happening because this is a pro-life protocol. It's not going to cause that, but some people, it's just hard to say. So if you have that proclivity of homicidal, suicidal stuff, then yeah, you need to probably go see a doctor while you're in this process if you have a history of homicide or suicidal background. But if you don't, then it's not going to just happen on Jjuice, okay? But if you've already experienced that before, then you probably need to be under observation while you're going through the healing process. Because that is a behavior that, we don't want to have somebody that has dealt with that be doing the Jjuice by themselves, because that would be scary for them as well as the people around them. Okay? But other than that, other than the extremes, this is now just most of you that are on this protocol, just understand that some of the drama that you create will then, will bring up conversation. When you address something that you've never addressed before, but you just can't ignore it because your biochemistry won't let you ignore it, then wow, you brought something to surface. Now it's on the table. Nobody in your household or nobody at work can ignore it anymore. And then it's going to be, either sink or swim. It's going to be either you get fired or they're going to change the way they do business. Sometimes you need to have that choice there right in your face instead of people dancing around it, pretending that it doesn't exist. The big elephant, the pink elephant in the room. Okay, so it's a dance back and forth, and you have to kind of play it cool, but sometimes you can't play it cool, and sometimes you just got to throw up, and that's part of the protocol too. Sometimes you have to throw up. I didn't throw up, but some people had to because they had so much crap in their system that they had to get out that worm or a big conglomeration, big ball of fungus that needed to come out, because that was really what was stopping them from absorbing and getting the protocol down into their lower intestines to then finally waterfall. So sometimes throwing up is necessary. So sometimes upsetting homeostasis in a major way that isn't extreme where it lands you in jail is an okay thing, okay? So don't be afraid. Some of you are just doing little sips and little, glasses here and glasses there, which is okay, your body. But some days, if you don't have those extreme backgrounds, push the envelope. Why be afraid to push the envelope? If you're aging, which brings me to my next thing, aging people, elderly people. The reason why they're elderly and have chronic pain is because they're malnourished. They're dying from malnutrition. And so, with elderly people, some can do this, right? And then maybe do a little bit of time, and that's okay. But what stops them from taking it to the next level? Instead of doing 2 cups a day spread apart, where you have 1 cup in the morning, which is not really a lot, and then 1 cup at night, what stops you from doing 2 cups in 5 minutes? Or 3 cups in 5 minutes? And then when you're thirsty, you drink water. And then you get the waterfalls. And then you do it again in the evening, 3 cups in 5 minutes. And then, then you start getting the healing symptoms. And then you deal with that, but you still stay at the 3 cups or the 6 cups a day, 3 cups in the morning, 3 cups at night, if that's how you want to do it. And then you get your healing symptoms, and then you plateau. Okay. Well, then when you plateau and you're still elderly, you're still, you're not completely 100% because you're not going to be that for a while. You up the dosages. You keep going to the next level. That's why I say like a gallon a day, but no one's going to start off in a gallon a day. That's not even possible. But some need to really up the dosages to get to a gallon a day. And when they get thirsty, they drink water because they have so many issues, or it depends on how fast they want to get to the next level. But in the beginning, you have to intellectualize this information, because I'll tell you what, the way this stuff smells in the beginning for a lot of you, it's horrific. It is going to be like mind over matter. Literally, it's going to be mind over matter when it comes to this in the beginning, because your biochemistry is not in line with these nutrients, because you're still run by parasites, you're still run by fungus, and that is what's going to stop you. So with people who are elderly, they have so many years of the way they looked at life, that has kept them comfortable. It's years and years of programming. And, they still, some of the other people who are, who are aged still love their Starbucks. They still love, all of their different foods or chocolates or wines. You list out everything if you're an elderly person and what you absolutely love. And then you go look at Jjuice and look at the diet and then look what you got to drink. You have to intellectualize what you want. And some people don't want Jjuice because they don't want to change their life. They don't want to change the way in which they do things. They don't want to change their food intake. They don't want to change their diet. It's more comfortable. And even people who are not elderly, I mean, people in my world that are like my age, that are like, oh God, and they're ridden by parasites and fungus. But when an elderly person, they have a lot more to overcome, but some may have a brain that they don't have to intellectualize as much. But it's still something that they have to, it's still a hurdle they have to get over, but it's not as hard. And there are other people that are elderly that is very difficult. They smell it, they're repulsed, they don't want anything to do with it, and they're really, really negative, dementia setting in, all of that setting in. And when dementia sets in, you have neurological issues setting in, it's difficult to intellectualize this when the smell doesn't really bring you in, because this smell will repel those that haven't been on the Jjuice at all. It will repel because you have parasites and you have fungus that don't want to die, and they already control your body. And so they're going to send signals to all your different sensory glands to say no, no. And no different than when you crave sugar. Why do you crave sugar? Because you have parasites and fungus that are craving sugar. As soon as you get on the Jjuice and you intellectualize what you see the future is, because you've watched what other people have gone through and that we're all the same, you will then eventually, you'll drink the protocol and you'll be squeamish about it and you'll probably be all, dramatic about it. But then over time, you're going to see your sugar cravings go away. And that sugar does contribute to diabetes, cancer disease, and all that, and chronic illness, right? So you're going to see your sugar cravings completely diminish over time. But you wouldn't have seen that if you hadn't taken a balancing force, which is Jjuice, against the negative forces that are in your body controlling you. So yeah, you're gonna have to, in the beginning, you're gonna have to intellectualize. And if you're not suffering and your back isn't against the wall, and you're happy with your life, then there's no reason for you to go and torture yourself, right, with this juice, because you would be having to go up against the battle against your parasites. But if you're so happy with your life and you don't see anything wrong with your sicknesses, and you don't see anything wrong with changing, you don't see anything wrong with anything in your life, then why would you change? It's those that want more than what they have, and not meaning monetarily or materially. Well, maybe monetarily, but not, meaning that they're wanting more to be unsatisfied. No, wanting more is wanting more out of life. They want more health, vitality, maybe more energy to go into a different career field. They want hope for their sons and their daughters and their grandkids. I mean, you see the mutations in you, and you see those mutations being passed down to your kids, which is in turn passed down to your grandkids, and then there's more mutations because of the way our system is. And so, yeah, and then that's why you want to change. So, but some of you are very happy and some of you are not. And so if you're unhappy with the way your life is, then yeah, you make a change and you figure out and you balance out the pros and the cons. And that's why you got to get my book to understand how the protocol works. When you want to implement it, if you can't do it during the day when you're at work, then do it on the weekends or do it at night. Okay, so this protocol is for everybody that wants to finally make a change. So Sue Lily, S-I-U-X Lily, who are you? Your angry face is getting gone. Bye, Sue Lily. You don't get the power of this information. Ooh, too bad for you. So anyways, so good morning, Edith. So anyways, so the elderly and yeah, and then anyone that has issues, major health problems, they have Down syndrome, any of those, it may be too late for them unless they had somebody in their life that's willing to oversee them. But, when you have a grown person that may be mentally challenged, probably not a good idea. And that's going to suck. If you had a mentally challenged child, then you maybe have a little bit of hope if you know what you're doing as a mother and you've done it yourself. No different than giving it to a child, right? But yeah, mentally challenged adults, I would just leave that alone. I would leave that alone. So yeah, so anyway, so in the beginning, you're going to be intellectualizing. And then, and then over time, your biochemistry is going to change and you won't have to intellectualize as much because you're going to see the benefits. But in the beginning, if your brain is not there to read information and then intellectualize it past the way it smells and the way it tastes, then yeah, then there's no point. Some people have to have their back against the wall and they just force it down because they know what are the choices they have? Death or possible life. No matter what, you're on a trajectory of death. So you already on that roller coaster that's going down. So either you follow it all the way down until you die, or you give yourself a chance to, hey, you know what, maybe I need to upset homeostasis, upset my way of thought, my thought process, and explore this. Because yeah, I deserve to live. I deserve more than what I have. And if your religion gets in the way, and all of your friends and family get in the way, and everything else, then you're going to have to be the one to stand up and say, hey, maybe it's okay to have a change. Maybe I don't have to die. Just because my church says that it's okay to die, live for the afterlife, maybe that isn't true. And if there is any religion or any thought process that says that you have to die, that is the thing that you have to do, I would run away. I really would. I would. Because I believe in pro-life, not the politicized, everybody have a baby, but who cares where the baby goes? No, I believe in pro-life. It means that if your cells are dying, then you're pro-death. If you're in a pro-life type of mentality, and then that's where your thought process is. And some of them, are very, Christian, or what do I say, born again Christians, or that type of religion, and they're all pro-life. And then their cells are dying and they're aging, there's a hypocrisy. If you're pro-life in everything. There is no exception to pro-life. But when you politicize things that go on, okay, out there, like pro-life, then there's always a hypocrisy because somebody has an agenda. What does pro-life actually mean? And it's all words and politics and all that. That's why I say get away from the politics. So if your church says that, we think life is precious, but but you're living for the afterlife, there's a hypocrisy there. You can't have, if you're going to be a pro-life in a church, but you accept death, there's something wrong there. Okay, there's something wrong there. So, and that's from my personal experience. Because, I would think that any God out there would not want their flock to pass away from preventable mutations. Hey, Gail. So, yeah, you deserve to upset the homeostasis and you deserve to live. So now what stops people from doing Jjuice and accomplishing their goals? What stops them? Oh my God, well, of course, it's the fear. It's the brainwashing or the programming from either their religion, from either their friends and family, from schools and all of that. They've reacted on their hormones. They've read negative information about me and about Jjuice. I may have been in some kind of hormonal crazy phase, and they're like, "Oh, she's insane." Well, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, or I wouldn't blame you. What else? I mean, Dr. Phil, and then anyone else that likes to make up lies. Because we have people out there, they're like, "Oh yeah, she did this or she did that or this and this," and it's all unsubstantiated. It's all hearsay. No different than when Trump goes in and talks to Chuck and Nancy. Chuck and Nancy. That sounds like a sitcom, Chuck and Nancy. And then all the rumors that he slapped his hands on the table and left. I doubt that's true. But these rumors about what happened in the meeting, even though it was like a 5-minute meeting, are circling around the internet, and then people are reacting as if it was true. But they weren't even there. They weren't in the meeting, but they were there. So, so yeah, so it's it's the rumors that tap into your fears, and that's what entertainment is. That's what the internet's all about, is triggering your most predominant hormone. So if your predominant hormone is fear of dying, but you're on the death trajectory anyways, then all of the negative press out there is going to trigger that, and then you're going to react as if you were a robot. And then also, see, what else would stop people? I mean, maybe their jobs, maybe who knows, their jobs, their partners. There's a lot of different things that would stop people, but explore what stops you. Maybe it's money, but this is really inexpensive. But there are a lot of things that stop people from getting to the next level, to their next goals. And it would be good for anyone that is exploring this. Write down what stops you. Write down what stops you in Jjuice. Write down what stops you in your life from achieving whatever goals that you have. And you'll find that your health is stopping you. You'll find that your brain, and you want to go and study this, but your brain isn't just working, but that's what's stopping you. So, and you will see that everything that stops you is a direct correlation to your health. Is a direct correlation to the limited amount of time that we have on this planet, because we're on this death trajectory. Now, not me or my people who are doing the Jjuice, but those of you out there in the matrix, you're up against the clock. So what stops you from achieving your dreams? Oh, I'm too old. I'm 50 years old. It's too late for me to start a new career. It's too late for me to go and study this that I really wanted to study. It's too late for me to do this. I mean, it's too late, I'm too old, and where has the time gone, and all that stuff. Those are all programmings to keep people stuck in that type of lifestyle, to where they only stick with one career, they only stick with one type of lifestyle, and they don't dream past whatever they should have dreamed when they were 20. See, when you have to pick a career field and you have to go pick a college or a trade, you pick it when you're 20, and this is what you're going to do. It's like a trade, whatever it is, you can do for the rest of your life. And if you happen to be lucky enough to have the resources to get you into that perfect career field, then you're luckier than most. Other people who had failing health or mutated hormones had to survive. And that was me. I had to survive. I tried to pick something, but I was too, all over the place to actually choose something and stick with it and be focused. So I was into everything. I was all over all over the US, driving, exploring, doing fun stuff, partying, yes. So, and then I chose something that just kind of happened to be there. It was when you choose insurance, it's because you're looking for a job, and then, a district manager calls you and says, "Hey, I got a great opportunity," and it was perfect timing, right? It's when It was when all of the money was free flowing before the downturn of the economy. And then when I was, going through the out insurance class and all of that, that's when, Countrywide completely just, went under, and I was trying to set up my office, and I was going into a Countrywide office that had like rows and rows of desks. It was basically like a boiler room. It was a machine. I mean, and so they're like, yeah, pick out whatever you want. This place is dissolved. They're bankrupt, and they got to get rid of, like, there's like 50 desks in a row in this one building over there in Elk Grove, California. So I went in there and pilfered and got like a tray and some stuff and a chair. And it's like, but that was a time. So I was a victim of my hormones reacting and just going with it. So that's what my whole life was, reacting for my hormones and just going with it. So that's why I was able to have all these different experiences. I'd go to Hawaii, I'd go to, Mississippi, Arizona, not Arizona, well, yeah, Arizona, that's with my husband, but going to Washington and driving across country and seeing, all the different checkpoints on Highway 40, not checkpoints, but like the Meteor, the Grand Canyon. So I did that all by myself. I said, screw it. If I can't pick a career, then I'm just going to create my life. And I was a nanny too, and hung out in Hollywood, California, and played that game for a while. So yeah, some of us are, have to react from our hormones because we can't seem to focus. Our hormones are in control. And that was my whole issue ever since I was a kid. And it could have parasites, because I came from Vietnam. So when you come from a survivalist, like when you're coming from a war-torn country, which then makes sense of why it is I was living on an adrenaline lifestyle, because I'm trying to survive in a shelter, or in a hospital and an orphanage in Vietnam during the Vietnam War, because the Vietnam War, it ended in 1975, and I was born in 1974. So I had a whole year of dealing with who knows what the hell. So I was always on an adrenaline rush, always. And I'm sure what I went through in the beginning was a major adrenaline rush, which then carried over into those dominant hormones. So so my mom said when she adopted me and she raised me and everything, she said that when I didn't start walking, I ran. So, that's the thing that I grew up with, so that's what makes sense why I couldn't choose a career and stay with it like the rest of the people in my area in Saratoga, is because I was always on an adrenaline rush. Well, that makes sense. How you start out in life will tell you what it's going to be for you until you get those hormones finally balanced. That would make sense. And I made that revelation a couple, yesterday or the day before. I'm like, oh my God, that makes sense. So when a baby is born in a very tumultuous time, yeah, what hormone is going to be prominent at that time? And then that's going to color that baby's life. So yeah, trauma. Yeah. It's like, and that's no different than somebody going through torture, as a baby, or abused, as a baby. And then that carries over into their whole life until somebody upsets that homeostasis and redirects those hormones and keeps them at bay so they can relax. So nobody is bad or wrong. Nobody is a horrible person. All of you that had whatever issues that you had, it's not your fault. It's the hormones that were in charge at the time. And you just hadn't gotten those hormones under control. Because once trauma happens, until you can heal from that, not anesthetize yourself, because what happens in the therapies community is that you have a trauma and then they go do whatever therapy, and then what it is, it's the oxytocin or something else, the painkiller, which is bringing up those memories in your body. Then all the antibodies and the hormones come and then try to repair, but you're not repairing the damage. It's just trying to keep that fear and all that at bay, and so it keeps you anesthetized, and maybe you think that you're healed, but you're not. But that trauma that comes to surface of why you went to that therapist doesn't come to surface anymore, because you didn't heal, but you found a way to keep it at bay, but you didn't heal from it. Okay, and that's the main thing when it comes to all the therapies. You're not healing, You just found ways to use your hormones to keep things at bay, but the damage is still there. And it'll come up in a different way. If you know, because yeah, that's what happens with all of these different antibiotics and cannabis and therapies, whether it's stem cells or transplants. Yeah, you may, you know, alleviate some kind of symptom here, but guess what? Something else crops up over here because the body is still trying to live no matter what. And so all of these red flags and all the different strings of therapies and the different, you know, diseases that people get and the combinations of it, that's all, you know, that's all your body saying, hey, well, you ignored me over here when you use some kind of anesthetizing therapy, but we still have an issue. So it's going to keep coming up and cropping up and cropping up until you die. And then you'll be on a string of different types of strains of cannabis or different strains of drugs or different strains of, or different protocols. Okay. So, you know, so what stops people from accomplishing their goals? Their health. But you need to write that down. You need to write down what your dreams are, what you want to accomplish in your life, even at 60 or 70. Pretend that you have in the next 300 years to live. What do you want your life to be? And then write out what stops you. That's going to be key on how you're going to then intellectualize Jjuice when it smells so bad. Okay? So, you know, just do that for yourself. Do that for yourself. Don't do it for me. But this is how we start dreaming for a new world. Is that first we have to stop with the current programming, figure out what stops us. And then in the back of our mind, we realize that health really does stop us. Health and our time on this earth, the whole program and how long you have on this earth. That's what's is going to stop you. So yeah, yeah, thank you, Krista. Because it just dawned on me the other day, oh my God, you know, me being born in a crazy war-torn country. No wonder I was insane as a child. And believe me, I wasn't insane, but I was a handful. I was on adrenaline my whole childhood. Ask my parents. I gave them a run for their money. I gave them a run for their money. And then eventually I grew up and then bam, you know, always running. I'm running. Not that I'm running away from my problems. I'm just running. Okay, if this doesn't work because I can't focus, okay, go on to the next thing, then on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Oh my God. My husband's probably the longest relationship I've had, whether it's a career. Oh no, because my career was like, oh yeah, which is a job, as well as relationships. He is the longest running one. And then this protocol is probably the longest I've ever spent in an actual job. Okay. So my life right now is a testament to the progress that I've made in my own life as far as focusing and longevity and all of that. So, you know what stopped me before? It was my health. So you guys write down what stops you from doing Jjuice as well as accomplishing whatever dreams that you have. And if you're 60 or 70 and you feel like your life is over, change that thought process and pretend you have the next 100, 200 years. Because that will then allow you to then look at the information about Jjuice and the possibility of it. And then you will determine what will be good for you. And if you decide that, you know, this is not for you, then great, that's fine. I hope you had a great life. But those of you that are not ready to die yet, do what I just did. Write down what stops you with Jjuice as well as your other life. Write down your dreams and aspirations, whatever they are, even if you're 50 or 60 or 70. And then you start off with Jjuice and you watch your biochemistry change. And then you'll see that you'll have a lot more capability to do whatever you want to do. And nothing will stop you. Okay. But it starts off with your biochemistry. It starts off with intellectualizing first the possibility, but it starts off with what stops you. It starts off with what are your dreams? So what are your dreams for the next 60, 70 years? And then what stops you in accomplishing those dreams and what stops you on Jjuice? And then that will be your first step in doing this. Because it's too much to just take all of this in as a possibility. It first starts with you. I mean, as far as too much as far as the Jjuice, you know, and the waterfalls and the diet and all this and how this can fit in my life and that and that. It's like, why do people do this stuff, right? Well, when people do stuff, it's because they have a reason. You don't just do Jjuice out of the fun of it. Nobody does Jjuice because it's fun. They do it because of the possibility of what would be, available to them now and in the future. Nobody just does stuff arbitrarily. There has to be a reason. And so you're the one to develop that reason. If not, then it's just exercise of futility. You will undermine yourself if you go into this half-assed. Don't undermine yourself. Really figure out why you want to do this. And this is why I've been saying I'm done with the activists. Because it's not about saving the world. It's about saving yourself, which is a contribution to the world. For you to save the world, you got to save yourself. If you haven't saved yourself, then there's no way you're going to save the world because you're going to die. And there's no saving the world when you're dead. You're of no use to this world when you're dead. So, that's why it starts with you and what do you want out of life and what stops you and then what is the possibility of you. And then the world will open up. But you can't if you can't even get yourself online. You can't get the world online if you can't get yourself online. So that's why yesterday I wanted to have that little bit of a debate about Trump and about the wall, because I wanted to see who was going to come on there and say stuff. And I was okay with it. I was going to be fine with it. Then I wanted to see how I was going to respond to those people. It's like a test for me. And I think I did okay. And every post that I made yesterday, which was a little bit, it was a little bit ambiguous, vague and all that. And people come on there and they have their attitudes. And I felt a trigger on some of the attitudes, but I didn't let that run me. I didn't go like, oh, what are you doing? Right. But I turned something that I thought could have been something weird and I made it good. And they didn't fulfill my little expectation of them. And so that, so exercise, once you get to the point, then you start testing your abilities on this juice. And that's how you interact with people, what you say, how you say it, what you write. Okay, then you start exercising these things. But that comes with changing your biochemistry. You can't really exercise a new thing if you don't change your biochemistry. So that's the advice I want to give to all of you for my today. And today I had no idea what I was going to talk about. This morning when I woke up this morning, looked outside, and I woke up and looked out the window, and I'm like, oh my God, it's all like snowing out. I'm like, okay, what? I'm like thinking like, I'm going to tell everybody on Facebook, nothing really to say much today. And then I looked at my Facebook, and I'm like, oh my God. I need to talk about the elderly people. I need to talk about, what stops people. I need to talk about looping because YouTube was listening to that thing about Chris Watts again. I woke up this morning hearing about, because people are reading the Discovery. I guess that they sold the 2,000 pages of the Discovery. They sold for a certain amount of time. So all these people bought the Discovery and they're all reading all over YouTube. And so I'm just listening to the same lady. And I like her. I mean, she has a very nice voice. So it's soothing. So that's why I probably was able to sleep through it. But I'm waking up to her voice. And I'm like, and it's the same freaking YouTube. I'm like, oh my God, I'm looping. Like YouTube is a microcosm of what people do in their hormones. And the whole thing with Chris Watts is a major hormone. Okay, so it makes sense why it's looping on my thing, because I've been studying Chris Watts and his behaviors and the behaviors of his family that followed up to that whole incident. So, it's just like, okay, I probably need to go and search other things so I can get off that Chris Watts loop. But that's what prompted me to talk about looping and YouTube and Facebook algorithms. All right, anyways, I'm going to go, but I just wanted to give you that and hopefully that you guys will do that exercise. Okay, so here's the exercise for all of you, and you'll listen to this transmission again, is write down what your goals and dreams are, no matter how, pretend that you have 100 years. Okay, and then write down what stops you from Jjuice, and as well as your goals and your dreams. And then so write down what stops you, and then so find out what stops you. And then that's what's going to have you start on the Jjuice. Okay, so you guys have a wonderful day. You too, Gail. Thanks for stopping by, all of you guys. And then, Just make it good. Whatever it is, make it good. Even if it's not, make it good. And if it's not good, that's okay. Sit in that for a minute and then get out of it. Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.